So I'm Gabby and I head up analytics at Adapt. Most of my role is taking information, transforming it into insights, and then telling stories around data. And I'm going to start by telling you a story. A couple of weeks ago, Jim pulled me into a meeting about this event theme, operational excellence. And he asked, through our data, can we quantify what excellence looks like and then show what top performers do to leverage value in that space? You know what, CEO Jim Barry? Challenge accepted. CEO wants it? Oh, CEO's going to get it. I think I'm funny and that's what matters. So I'm going to quickly just cap off from what Jim said before. So what Jim alluded to is that tech modernization and simplification is your top goal. And it's linked to everything else on that list. It's linked to cost optimization because we have sunken investment, duplicate resources, and in a complex environment, we lack the visibility to map spend to value. It affects the way we deliver on our experience for our customers, our employees, and how we become secure and trusted. The reason why I want to highlight tech modernization and simplification is because at this point in the presentation, operational excellence is conceptual. I can actually measure modernization and simplification, build some models around it that takes you on a journey. Maybe we find operational excellence at the end. Maybe not. Stay tuned to find out. So what we do is, we measure how modernized your infrastructure is. Infrastructure is all-encompassing. It's your application, network, storage infrastructure. And as a nation, we're halfway through that journey, 58%, which is the exact same as what it was last year. Don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that you haven't made progress. There are two things that happen. First is technology moves fast. What's considered legacy is in a shorter period of time. For that reason, the goalposts move, and there is no 100%. You are always on this journey. The second thing that happens is, if I ask you how modernized your infrastructure is, this is a perception. And what normally happens is when you start your journey, you uncover things that you didn't know before, you hit roadblocks, and your perception can move backwards. For that reason, we've grouped respondents, because most of that perception shift happens in that central 50%. So when we have a look at low, moderate, and highly modernized organizations, we're pretty certain that there are some key differences between them. So we run some of our models and we start to data mine, okay, what do highly modernized organizations do? Well, highly modernized organizations have consolidated double the amount of applications in the past 12 months. Remember, it's modernization and simplification. So we're reducing our landscape, we're reducing the scope and focusing on the applications that can add value in our organization. The second thing is highly modernized organizations have almost 3 times the amount of apps connected by APIs. And that's important because we're getting a better idea of the business, we're connecting different resources across the organization and understanding different perspectives of business problem. The last one I've highlighted, not because it has a higher rate of impact, but because it's phenomenally interesting. And that is, highly modernized organizations, they are twice as good at promoting change throughout the rest of the business, which means that IT is the catalyst for change. They're the driver for change. They're actively going out and assessing business goals and seeing how they can reverse engineer IT. It personifies a shift from being an order taker to a strategic advisor. So what do highly modernized organizations do? Well, they're simple, they're connected, and they're enabling the rest of the organization. And if you're wondering how those percentages work, low modernized organizations, they have 19% of their applications connected through APIs, where high modernized have 55%. So I realize I show you this slide, and a lot of you validate it against what you're trying to achieve in your organization. You go, of course this is the right list, because this sets the strategy of what you're trying to achieve with operational excellence. The next question is, how do you go from strategy to execution? For that, we need voice of customer. So my colleague Byron has been doing some incredible work called A Day in the Life of CIO. And recently he interviewed Bendigo and Adelaide Bank about cloud stall. Some of you might have encountered this, where you have a rapid acceleration to the cloud, you hit 50%, and then you stagnate. And the reason why you do that is because you moved what's easy. Now you're left with the big, the difficult, the heavy. So what did Bendigo and Adelaide Bank do to modernize? Well, first they leveraged strong vendor relationships. And we don't expect our vendors to be the Salvation Army and just give us stuff for free. But when we have deep and meaningful relationships where, for instance, Bendigo and Adelaide Bank was participating in their innovation awards, when it came time for them to get resources for their proof of concept, well, it was quite easy for them to get that expertise and some kit. You're going to love this. They trained a large language model on how APIs are written in their organization. How cool is that? And when they started to train this large language model that could write APIs faster than a human, it could do it better than a human because it made less spelling mistakes and it was more cost-effective than a human. They estimate a 90% cost reduction in the labor costs of their modernization journey, a 50% reduction in the amount of applications that they're managing, modernization and simplification. Of course, you can't talk about Gen AI without being secure and trusted. APIs have no personal identifying information in them, unless if a developer accidentally leaves them in. But when it comes to governance and compliance, you can actually set the guardrails up for the large language model that it keeps to really well. Bendigo and Adelaide Bank had also existing cloud governance frameworks that they could leverage to deploy this. The last thing they did was they had a clear use case. Cost reduction, application reduction. They seem pretty clear. And when we surveyed 200 CIOs in February, almost half of them had no use case for AI. So we've got strategy, we've got execution. I think that we're good to start defining what this operational excellence looks like. And for that, I'm going to show you 3 variables that correlate to people that say they capture value from operations. They are people that capture value from operations at 3.7 times better process simplification, mapping out where processes are in their organization and removing frictions. They're also more API connected. So once you simplify that process, you can scale it through the organization and understand how the process fits in the bigger picture. Then there's workflow automation. So once you do that, you can see what you can automate. The reason why I'm explaining it to you like this is because while they're individually correlated, there is some interdependencies there. So what does value from operations actually look like? Well, it looks like 1.5 times better at building in change management, being agile and being adaptable in your IT processes. It looks like being 3 times better at prioritization, which is important because now you're chasing the initiatives that add value. You're also respecting that your time and your team's time is a critical resource. The last one, big one, is organizations that capture high value from their operations are 7.5 times better at reducing technology costs. How good would it be for some of us if we were 7.5 times better at reducing tech costs? When I think about being agile, being adaptable, being able to manage change, efficient and cost-effective, I don't know about you, but that looks pretty excellent to me. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's probably the mic drop moment. And Gabby, why do you still have just half a slide up? Because we're going to talk about scaling value. And there's a statistical technique called traversing a variable. Like when you ski or climb, you walk alongside the mountain. So let's say that you climb this mountain and it's called operational effectiveness. And you see a peak in the background and it's called customer excellence. There's a temptation to start again. The reason why I chose these 3 variables, while we've got a lot that correlates to value from operations and customers, is because the rate of impact on customer excellence is similar. So if you're undergoing the journey, these are 3 things that you're probably doing already. But this is just correlation. What you've got to do then is add in these 2 variables. You uplift the digital literacy of your executive layer. So now they understand the context of technology, where it can help, and they're starting to see you as a strategic advisor and not necessarily as a cost center. Then you've got to double your digital channel interactions. That looks like the amount of orders received from clients or through digital means, and how you provide services and products through digital channels. And in lower organizations, asking for double actually isn't that much. Now, this isn't causation, because each one of you has quite individual requirements. This is a highly capable predictive model that predicts value from customers to an incredible accuracy. So what I'm trying to say is, while there are differences in your organizations, a lot of nuance, this works for most of your organizations most of the time across every industry that we measure. If you're wondering what value from customers looks like, it looks like almost double the revenue from cross-selling. It looks like almost double the revenue from innovation. And Peter Weil from MIT has a great definition for that, which is new products and services introduced in the past 3 years. I tend to agree with that. And if you're looking at those two metrics, maybe you're from a non-for-profit or a government organization and thinking, well, you got revenue, I don't care that much, then you're 2.5 times better at removing customer frictions, which is really important because a lot of the marketing metrics, even the ones that aren't specifically attached to revenue, they don't work in government. They just don't. And the way that we remove frictions from delivering on sim services is incredibly important. I want to follow that process simplification across one more time. I want to traverse it one more time because the rate of impact is so high. So you saw before that it had a 3.7 times impact on value from operations. And you can see that in the effective layer there, where ineffective people only capturing value, only 15% of them are good at simplifying processes. Where the effective people, 40% of organizations are effective at simplifying processes, which is a huge jump. You have a very similar rate of impacts there to people who are AI ready. So people that feel unprepared to harness AI, they're not very good at process simplification, where people who are prepared, over half of them are good at process simplification. And that makes incredible sense. And get your phones ready, because I'm about to live poll you on this in a second. When I saw this stat, I thought about when we map out processes and understand how it flows in our organization, you see someone processing a document and you go, that's where AI can help. Or you're looking at your security operations center who are triaging requests and someone's manually triaging. That's where AI can assist. So let's bring up the poll. What I want to know is, considering what you've seen so far, what is the value stream that you think that you can capture AI through? Is it productivity and some of that document processing in terms of enabling people to perform better in their role? Are you going to go out on a limb and try some of these customer excellence initiatives that are a lot talked about, but not a lot of people are doing? Is it security? You know what? I want to watch this live. Could we bring up the results? Thank you so much. Our AV team is incredible. 100% on productivity. I love watching this live. There's something about being a data professional with live streaming data. It's just so much fun. So risk identification and mitigation has actually been, there's been a lot of progress in this. I was talking to a managed service provider recently who's using a large language model to assess risks from their customers, triage them, and then direct them to the right person with a summarization of recommendations of what should happen in that space. That productivity seems to be the low-hanging fruit at the moment because it's low risk, there's a lot of software as a service, and I'm happy to see that we're looking internally in our organization and enabling our people. So let's flick over to the next slide. If you want to keep voting, you can keep voting. We'll get you the results at the end. So Jim alluded to this at the beginning. How ready are you then to deliver on those AI initiatives? And he did say, we're not that ready. I'm going to do something a little bit dangerous. I'm going to contradict him. So in February, we surveyed 200 CIOs. And the amount of people who were fully prepared to harness AI was 0. Now, in August, we have 2 people. But that's not where the big story is. The big story here is when you start to aggregate and combine areas and see the general shift over the past 6 months. So what we see is in February, 66% of people were in negative statement. They feel unprepared to harness AI. That's a massive shift down to 22% now in August. And the amount of people that feel prepared is 9% up to now 30%. So while Jim said that we're unprepared, statistically, yes, he's right. But we have made progress. I think that that should be celebrated. And some of the things that we make progress on is we're starting to develop things like data catalogs, understanding that we need the data governance and quality to underpin being AI ready. We're respecting that operational excellence and that having a mature information architecture can help drive and scale AI in a cost-effective way. And we can think about the democratization. So you're looking at productivity. What's the end user skill set that's going to make you be able to harness AI? So when we have a look at how we sit overall this year, 18% prepared, 35% neutral, and 47% unprepared. Let's do this again next year and see if we've shifted the dial even more. So what's stopping people from moving up that list? What are the barriers that are inhibiting you from being able to be AI ready? The number one barrier is data quality issues. Now, there's this old saying, I'm sure a lot of you have heard it, that there's garbage in, garbage out. AI is no different. There are some people testing things around AI fixing data quality issues, but those tests are happening on high quality data to then go and fix bad data. Generally what you find is that the hallucination rate goes up dramatically with bad data. We see a lack of data skills, and that's both in our team internally, that we don't have people that can build the models, train the models, deploy them, cloud engineers to manage the infrastructure around it. These are new skills. So when we're looking to build them, we have to look at our existing data science team, our existing model building team, as well as our vendor landscape and software as a service landscape. We have some things around culture and stringent governance requirements as well. And governance is incredibly important when it comes to AI because it helps fix some of those data quality issues. So, to sum up, what have we covered so far? We're looking at consolidation and integration as a way to modernize, reducing our application landscape and connecting everything together. Managing change is important, whether you're trying to achieve operational excellence or AI readiness. It's not a set and forget strategy. You're not just AI ready, and you can expect to be AI ready tomorrow. And this modernization path is something that you're always doing. Process simplification, not a lot of us do this, where we map out the processes, scale it across the organization, understand the context of everything. Data quality is really important if you're going to be AI ready. It is the number one reason why AI projects are failing right now.